8. 2013 Glasgow helicopter crash. On November 29, 2013, Glasgow witnessed a horrific helicopter crash that shook the city to its core. The tragedy unfolded when a police helicopter, flown by Bond Air Services for Police Scotland, suddenly plunged into the Clutha, a popular pub in the centre of Glasgow, claiming the lives of 3 crew members and 7 patrons. The aircraft, a Eurocopter EC-135T2+, registered as GSPAO, crashed into the roof, leading to 31 injuries for those inside. The investigation revealed that the crash's cause was thanks to fuel starvation, resulting from incorrectly operating the fuel system. The helicopter, with pilot David Trail at the pilot's seat, took off from Glasgow City Heliport, initially for a search mission, before heading to Dalkeith and returning to Glasgow. About 2 miles from its base, the helicopter crashed onto the Clutha without sending out a distress call. Witnesses reported the absence of an explosion, with the engine seemingly misfiring. Emergency response efforts were immediately sent out, involving the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service, the Scottish Ambulance Service, as well as urban search and rescue teams. The complex construction of the pub complicated these rescue operations, requiring extensive efforts to remove trapped individuals. The Air Accidents Investigation Branch, AAIB, later confirmed that both engines had flamed out due to fuel starvation. The final report, published in October 2015, identified the main cause as the fuel transfer pumps being switched off. It's unclear why this was done. The inquiry also revealed failures to follow emergency checklists and execute a successful auto-rotation after engine failure, leading to 7 different safety recommendations. 7. 1986 Grand Canyon mid-air collision. The Grand Canyon mid-air collision is one of the deadliest helicopter crashes in United States history, taking place in 1986 and involving a Bell 206 helicopter and a DHC-6 Twin Otter. This tragedy happened right over the Grand Canyon, resulting in the simultaneous descent of both aircraft from an altitude of over 6,000 feet. On June 18, 1986, Grand Canyon Airlines Flight 6 started off on a routine 30-minute scenic flight over the rock formations, carrying 18 passengers and 2 pilots aboard the DHC-6 Twin Otter. Meanwhile, Helitech Flight 2, a Bell 206 helicopter, left its private port at 9:13 for a canyon tour, carrying 4 passengers and the pilot. At that time, the FAA lacked proper regulations for the separation between planes and helicopters, relying only on a visual contact system. The 2 aircraft, following incredibly similar paths, approached each other at direct right angles, likely contributing to their lack of visual awareness. The Bell 206's main blades then collided with the Twin Otter's tail and rear landing gear, while the helicopter's rear blade hit the fuselage. This encounter caused the main blades to separate, further damaging the Twin Otter, which pitched into the canyon walls and crashed, while the helicopter lost all of its power. The outcome was completely devastating, resulting in the loss of all 25 individuals on board both aircraft. The investigation by the National Transportation Safety Bureau, NTSB, faced significant challenges thanks to the absence of any flight data from either aircraft, since scenic flights did not require monitoring equipment on board. This limitation hindered efforts to reconstruct the events leading up to the collision. Nonetheless, the incident underscored the severe risks associated with relying only on the see and avoid principle for scenic flights with multiple aircraft types. In response, the NTSB proposed crucial recommendations to improve safety over the Grand Canyon. These included avoiding the concentration of flights over specific scenery points and introducing regulations for the separation of fixed-wing aircraft and helicopters. The FAA was also urged to implement measures like reporting altitudes and flight paths in advance to mitigate the likelihood of future collisions. Before we continue, if you're joining us for the first time, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And don't keep your thoughts to yourself. Drop a comment below and tell us what content you'd like to see next. 6. 1986 British International Helicopters Chinook Crash. On November 6, 1986, tragedy struck as a Boeing Vertol Model 234LR Chinook helicopter crashed while taking workers back from the Brent oil field to Sundberg Airport in the Shetland Islands. The helicopter, usually based in Aberdeen, had been temporarily stationed in Sundberg to help with a shuttle service from the Brent oil field. The flight, carrying 44 passengers, experienced a forward transmission failure only 2.5 miles from the runway. The failure led to a collision between the tandem rotor blades, causing the helicopter to plunge below into the sea. The impact caused the deaths of 43 passengers and 2 crew members, with only 1 passenger and 1 crew member surviving. The flight's history included a delay thanks to an oil leak that was quickly addressed, but the events unfolded during the return leg from Brent Field. As the helicopter approached Sundberg, it suddenly experienced an increase in noise, followed by a loud bang. Despite the crew's attempts to regain control, the chopper fell from 150 feet into the sea, where it sank. A Coast Guard search and rescue helicopter spotted life rafts in the water not long after and rescued 2 survivors, one of whom was desperately clinging to a piece of wreckage. An air and sea search, though unsuccessful in finding more survivors, recovered all the deceased's floating bodies. The recovery operation started the next morning, facing challenging sea conditions. The MSV Deepwater 1, later renamed Rockwater 1, and the MSV Stardive played crucial roles in finding and salvaging the wreckage. The recovered components, including the cockpit voice recorder and major fuselage sections, were moved to Aberdeen for analysis by the Air Accidents Investigation Branch, AAIB. The AAIB investigation revealed that the crash was caused by the failure of a modified bevel ring gear in the forward transmission, allowing the twin rotors to collide once synchronization was lost. Inadequate testing and inspection programs were identified as underlying causes. The aftermath saw the oil industry retire Chinooks from offshore support tasks, deeming them too big for the role. The remaining ones were withdrawn and sold. They later found new life, operating with Columbia helicopters in heavy-lift non-passenger capacities. The incident prompted a reassessment of safety measures in the aviation industry and reinforced the importance of testing and inspection protocols. 5. 1997 Israeli helicopter disaster. On February 4, 1997, the 1997 Israeli helicopter disaster, or the disaster of the helicopters, unfolded when 2 Israeli Air Force transport helicopters collided in the air, resulting in the loss of 73 Israeli military personnel on board. The incident happened over Shedar Yashuv in northern Israel and had major implications, leading to widespread national mourning and influencing Israel's decision to withdraw from southern Lebanon in 2000. The background of the disaster was rooted in the 1982 Lebanon War, where Israel, facing insurgency by Hezbollah and other Lebanese groups, upheld a security zone in southern Lebanon. As threats like roadside bombs steadily increased, Israel decided to ferry soldiers into the region by air. The catastrophic collision involved 2 Sikorsky S-65C3 Yazoo 2000 helicopters, numbered 357 and 903. Initially scheduled for February 3rd, but delayed because of bad weather, the mission continued on February 4th when visibility finally improved. Tragically, the helicopters crashed over Moshav Shedar Yashuv. Later investigations revealed that the rotor of helicopter 357 hit the tail of helicopter 903, causing both aircraft to go down. The impact caused a fireball, setting off explosions from stored munitions. The crash claimed the lives of everyone on board, with no casualties on the ground. After the disaster, Israel declared a day of mourning on February 6th. The nation grieved together as flags flew at half-mast and various ceremonies and memorials were held. The funeral started on February 5th, attended by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Ezer Weizmann. A commission of inquiry, led by David Ivory, looked into the incident and recommended disciplinary actions to be taken against several military personnel. The tragedy prompted a re-evaluation of protocols, advocating for reduced flight frequency, clearer procedures, and the installation of more black boxes in helicopters. 4. 2002 Khankala Mi-26 crash. On August 19, 2002, a group of Chechen fighters armed with a man-portable air defense system launched a surface-to-air missile. The weapon brought down a Russian Mi-26 helicopter near Chechny's capital city Grozny. The overloaded chopper, belonging to the 487th Separate Helicopter Regiment, crashed inside a minefield, causing the deaths of 127 Russian soldiers, marking the greatest loss of life in the history of helicopters. The targeted aircraft, transporting 142 soldiers and officers from the 20th Guards Motor Rifle Division, suffered a tragic fate as the missile struck one of its main engines, causing it to crash land in the minefield, which was part of the Federal Military Headquarters defenses. Several survivors tried to escape, but were killed by friendly anti-personnel mine explosions. The Russian military quickly launched a search for the attackers, but only recovered the spent missile tube. President Vladimir Putin decided to declare a national day of mourning on August 21, 2002. The incident raised many concerns about transparency and accountability. The aftermath saw the suspension and resignation of the Russian Army's aviation commander, Colonel General Vitaly Pavlov. Legal proceedings also unfolded, leading to the conviction of Lieutenant Colonel Anatoly Kudyakov, the regimental commander, for negligence after he allowed the helicopter to be overloaded. 3. 2015 Eglin Air Force Base crash. On March 10, 2015, a Sikorsky UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter of the United States Army crashed off the coast of Florida Panhandle during a routine training exercise at Eglin Air Force Base. The incident, dubbed the 2015 Eglin Air Force Base helicopter crash, resulted in the loss of all 11 individuals on board. The UH-60M helicopter, assigned to the 244th Assault Helicopter Battalion in Hammond, Louisiana, was on a night training flight. Its goal was to drop off the U.S. Marines assigned to a Special Operations Unit for a simulated over-the-beach landing. Leaving at 8:55 p.m. local time, the chopper entered dense coastal fog about 5 minutes after takeoff. The helicopter's passengers included 7 U.S. Marines from Marine Corps Special Operations Command, MARSOC Raiders Team 8231, and 4 soldiers. It was piloted by Chief Warrant Officer 4, CW4 George Wayne Griffin Jr. and CW George David Strother, both members of the 1st Battalion Assault of the 244th Aviation Regiment. As Mojo 69, the call sign for the helicopter crossed the shore, it entered a degraded visual environment thanks to fog. The pilots, CW4 Griffin and CW4 Strother, immediately experienced spatial disorientation, causing the helicopter to differ from its mission path. The lack of visual references led to erratic inputs, and the helicopter started flying backward. The tragic descent continued, with rapid climb and descent maneuvers, ultimately resulting in a heavy spin. Despite efforts to regain control, the pilots were entirely unsuccessful. About 125 seconds after going inside the fog, Mojo 69 crashed into the Santa Rosa Sound. Everyone on board, including the pilots and special operations personnel, lost their lives during the impact. The investigation, led by the National Transportation Safety Bureau (NTSB) and the Louisiana Army National Guard (LAARNG), determined that spatial disorientation, combined with poor weather conditions and a breakdown in aircrew communication, contributed to the crash. The tragedy highlighted the importance of following weather and visibility regulations during flight missions, prompting recommendations for improved safety measures and communication protocols. 2. 2018 Leicester helicopter crash. On October 27, 2018, Leicester City's football community experienced tragedy after a Leonardo AW169 helicopter crashed not long after takeoff from the King Power Stadium, claiming the lives of everyone on board. The helicopter, a familiar sight for Fox's fans since club owner Vichai Srivadpanaprabha frequently used it for travel, was heading to Luton Airport. The flight started at Fair Oaks Airport in Surrey with the pilot and his girlfriend on board. After stopping at London heliport to pick 3 additional passengers up, including Srivanaprabha and 2 staff members, the helicopter landed at the Leicester City Football Club training ground. All passengers then left and travelled to the stadium for Leicester's game against West Ham United. After the match, the helicopter lifted off from the pitch, captured live on BT Sports Channel, only to suffer a catastrophic failure. As the pilot turned the helicopter, a failure in the tail rotor control linkage led to a loss of yaw control, sending the aircraft into a wild spin. The chopper crashed in Car Park E, about 200 meters from the stadium, bursting into flames. Despite dedicated efforts by police officers and club staff to rescue those still on board, the heat and flames forced a retreat. The fire claimed the lives of all 5 occupants, including Srivanaprabha, the pilot, and 3 others. The victims came from Thailand, the United Kingdom, and Poland. 2 police officers, Michael Hooper and Stephen Quartermain, experienced burns and smoke inhalation in their attempt to rescue the occupants, earning them nominations for a National Police Bravery Award. The aftermath caused an extensive investigation by the Air Accidents Investigation Branch, AAIB, with international agencies providing additional assistance. The cause of the crash was attributed to the tail rotor control linkage failure. The European Aviation Safety Agency, EASA, also issued directives for inspections on similar helicopters, and the AAIB published safety recommendations. 1. 2020 Calabasas helicopter crash. The 2020 Calabasas helicopter crash, which took place on January 26th, claimed the lives of 9 people, including basketball legend Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna. The Sikorsky S-76B helicopter, flown by Island Express Holdings Inc., left John Wayne Airport in Orange County, California, and headed to Camarillo Airport. The flight's tragic end resulted thanks to continued visual flight rules (VFR) into instrument meteorological conditions (IMC), causing spatial disorientation and a loss of control. The National Transportation Safety Board (NTSB) conducted a thorough investigation, concluding that the pilot, Ara Zobayan, entered low cloud cover, leading to him losing orientation and control. Factors contributing to the accident included Zobayan's pressure to complete the flight, continuation bias, and Island Express Helicopters Inc.'s inadequate oversight of safety management processes. Weather conditions at the time were difficult, with estimated visibility ranging between 1 to 1.5 miles. Despite the Los Angeles Police Air Support Division grounding its helicopters due to poor visibility, N-72EX took off. The crash site, located in Calabasas, California, sparked a bushfire, complicating recovery efforts. The NTSB investigative update on February 7th dispelled initial concerns of engine failure, stating that no evidence of catastrophic internal failure was found. On February 9, 2021, the NTSB determined the probable cause, emphasizing the pilot's decision to continue VRF into IMC conditions. 8. The Highland Towers. Highland Towers was a residential complex located in Taman Hillview, Ulu Klang, Selangor, Malaysia. It consisted of 3 12-story buildings or blocks that were built on a terraced hill between 1974 and 1982. The towers were home to affluent middle-class families, with a sizable percentage of the residents being expatriates. On December 11, 1993, the first tower of the Highland Towers apartment complex collapsed due to a major landslide caused by heavy rains that burst diversion pipes. The collapse resulted in 48 deaths. Residents of the other 2 blocks and neighboring establishments were evacuated due to safety concerns. It was a devastating event that shook the nation and left a lasting impact on the community. Today, Highland Towers is remembered as a cautionary tale of the importance of proper construction and maintenance of buildings. The tragedy led to a significant overhaul of building regulations in Malaysia, with stricter guidelines and more frequent inspections. The incident also highlighted the need for better disaster preparedness and response measures, which have since been implemented across the country. Since the tragedy, there have been reports of paranormal activity and ghost sightings in the vicinity of Highland Towers, especially after dark. Authorities determined that a combination of structural faults and soil erosion was to blame, but many people still think that a curse or haunting caused the buildings to ultimately fall. The assertions have attracted paranormal enthusiasts to the ruins, attempting to capture paranormal activity. Despite the tragedy and the rumors of paranormal activity, the memory of Highland Towers lives on in the hearts of many Malaysians. The site of the collapsed tower has since been cleared, and a memorial garden has been established in its place. The garden serves as a reminder of the lives lost and the lessons learned. 7. New Bedford Orpheum. The Orpheum is a historic theatre located in New Bedford, Massachusetts. It was originally built in 1912 by the French Sharpshooters Club of New Bedford as a ballroom and arms shooting range. The building was designed by Louis E. Destromps and was initially named the Majestic Opera House. The Orpheum was leased to the Orpheum Circuit of Boston, which brought a series of vaudeville and variety performers to the city. By the 1920s, the theatre had begun showing motion pictures as well. It was a popular venue for burlesque acts and silent movies, but it closed its doors in 1958 to 59 and was only opened for special events. Following its sale by the Sharpshooters Club in 1962, a tobacco firm utilized it as storage. The back of the theatre currently houses a supermarket, but the rest of the space is still empty. The Orpheum is said to be home to several ghosts, including the ghost of a young girl named Laura who died in a theatre fire. Visitors have reported hearing strange noises and seeing apparitions in theatres. Despite its haunted reputation, the Orpheum has been the subject of several restoration efforts over the years. In 2004, a non-profit company called ORPH, Orpheum Rising Project Helpers Inc., announced plans to bring back the theatre and revitalize the New Bedford economy. All the same, the theatre was put up for sale in 2012 after the company failed to raise the required money. 2019 saw the building put up for sale again after it had been sold in 2017. The Orpheum is a fascinating piece of history that's worth exploring if you're ever in the area. Who knows, you might even catch a glimpse of one of its ghostly inhabitants. 6. The Monte Cristo Homestead. The Monte Cristo Homestead is a historic homestead located in Dune East, New South Wales, Australia. It's known to be the most haunted house in all of Australia. The homestead was built in 1884 by Christopher Crawley, a wealthy man who farmed for pleasure. The homestead consisted of 2 houses, the first of which was built in 1876 and later became the servants' quarters, kitchen and dairy after Crawley built his Victorian 2-story home. The homestead has a dark history, with many of its former residents believed to still haunt the property. Mr. Crawley impregnated at least 2 of the family's maids, and his wife, Elizabeth, was described as hateful and cruel, ruling the house with an iron fist. Mr. Crawley died in 1910 from heart failure and blood poisoning caused by a boil on his neck, while Elizabeth became a recluse after his death. She transformed the above-box room into a chapel, devoting herself entirely to her beliefs and the Bible. Before her death in 1933 from an appendix rupture, it's thought that she only left the home twice. The homestead is said to have over 10 ghosts haunting its rooms and grounds. Many of them are said to be Crawley family members. Visitors and staff have claimed to witness ghostly apparitions, hear disembodied voices, and experience inexplicable cold spots and sensations. Mrs. Crawley makes every effort to make visitors feel uncomfortable and terrorizes them until they leave. The homestead is said to be haunted by up to 10 troubled souls and poltergeists. Some remain unidentified, but others have a very strong link with the house and can be traced back through its troubled history. 5. The Anderlecht Veterinary School. The Anderlecht Veterinary School is a derelict veterinary complex located in Brussels, Belgium. The site's been abandoned since the 1990s, with all of its bizarre exhibits and creepy artifacts remaining. The last remaining unrenovated building out of the 19 that used to make up the complex, the Anderlecht Veterinary School, has stood deserted for decades. The school is composed of several buildings with beautiful architecture. they were all abandoned in 1991 when the school moved to Liège. The site is a set of 19 distinct houses, pleasantly separated by courts and gardens. All the facades are in neo-Renaissance Flemish style. The Horror Labs, or the Veterinary School of Anderlecht, is the main attention of the complex. It's a room full of animal heads, brains, and assorted parts stuffed into jars throughout the building. Some parts are recognizable, some are not. Some are jammed together into larger jars. Some are sewn together, and we absolutely do not want to know why. The Horror Labs is allegedly a popular urban exploration destination, although anyone who wants to take a day trip to the Horror Labs is made of sterner stuff than we are. The site is said to be haunted by the spirits of the animals that were once treated there, as well as the ghosts of the people who worked and studied there. Visitors have claimed to witness ghostly apparitions, hear disembodied voices, and experience inexplicable cold spots and sensations. Would you want to check this place out? Tell us in the comments and hit subscribe while you're at it. 4. Bhangarh Fort. Bhangarh Fort, located in the Alwar district of Rajasthan, is often referred to as the most haunted place in India. The fort was built in the 17th century by Raja Bhagwan Das and was once a symbol of grandeur and architectural brilliance. However, today it stands as a silent and eerie reminder of the past, with the Archaeological Survey of India prohibiting visitors from entering the fort after sunset. The fort complex includes several temples, public chambers, and the royal palace. But it's the chilling legends associated with the fort that have earned it its haunted reputation. One such legend involves a local ascetic who cursed the fort after its shadow fell on his home. Another tale speaks of a black magician who, failing to win the affection of a princess using a love potion, cursed the fort with his dying breath. Despite these tales, officials and guides insist that the fort is not haunted. They argue that the prohibition of nighttime visits is due to the potential danger posed by wild animals. However, the lack of electricity and the unexplored ruins within the fort walls continue to fuel the mystery and intrigue surrounding Bhangarh Fort. While some visitors are drawn to the fort by the thrill of the unknown, others appreciate it for its historical significance and architectural beauty. Regardless of the truth behind the legends, Bhangarh Fort remains a captivating sight that continues to draw visitors from around the world. 3. Ringwood Mine. Ringwood, a densely populated wooded town in New Jersey, is known for its abandoned iron mines that predate the American Revolution. The mines, which started operation in 1740, eventually delved nearly 2,000 feet underground, chasing magnetic ore. Within these dark depths, miners reported hearing knocking sounds at irregular intervals. One of the most chilling tales from Ringwood Mines involves retired archaeologist Edward Lennox. While researching old mine trails in the mid-1990s, Lennox claimed to have seen a hand and an arm emerge from the water of a flooded mineshaft on Hope Mountain, only to disappear back down. This sighting was recorded in his book Iron Mine Trails, published in 1996. The mines are also associated with a tragic event. In 1963, a 15-year-old resident named Harry Van Dunk fell 50 feet into a mineshaft when a sinkhole opened under his feet. This incident, along with Lennox's experience, has contributed to the eerie reputation of the mines. Today, the Hassan Clever Iron Trail that once led hikers to Hope Mountain is blocked. The site lies near contaminated portions of the Ringwood Mines Superfund site, where Ford Motor Company dumped paint sludge and other industrial waste 50 years ago. This toxic legacy has added another layer of haunting to the mines. Despite the mine's haunted reputation and toxic contamination, the Ramapow Lunapi Turtle Clan continues to call Ringwood home. The landscape, which features iron mines, Native American rock shelters, and a forest, also contains a stew of different chemical toxicants from the former Ford manufacturing plant. This juxtaposition of natural beauty, historical significance, and environmental hazards makes the Ringwood Mines a uniquely haunting locale. 2. Waverly Hills Sanitarium. The Waverly Hills Sanitarium, perched atop a hill in Louisville, Kentucky, is a monument to a bygone era and a beacon for paranormal enthusiasts. Opened in 1910, the sanatorium was initially designed to accommodate 40 to 50 tuberculosis patients. However, as the disease ravaged the population, the facility expanded in 1926 to house over 400 patients. The sanatorium was more than just a hospital. It was a self-contained community. It had its own zip code, post office, water treatment facility, and grew its own food. This isolation was necessary to prevent the spread of tuberculosis, a highly contagious disease. Despite its noble purpose, the sanatorium was a place of immense suffering and death. It's estimated that tens of thousands of people died within its walls. The hospital officially closed in 1961, following advancements in tuberculosis treatment. Today, the sanatorium is renowned as one of the most haunted locations in America. Visitors and paranormal investigators report a multitude of unexplained phenomena. Shadowy figures, disembodied voices, and cold spots are commonly experienced, particularly in room 502. This room is infamous due to stories of a nurse who allegedly took her own life there. Several apparitions are said to haunt the sanatorium. A little girl is often seen playing in the third-floor solarium. A little boy, known as Timmy, is said to play with a leather ball. Perhaps most chilling is the spectral figure of a woman with bleeding wrists, seen crying out for help. The Waverly Hills Sanatorium, with its imposing architecture and chilling reputation, continues to intrigue and attract visitors from around the world. Its haunted history serves as a stark reminder of the battle against tuberculosis and the human lives that were lost in the process. 1. The St. Augustine Lighthouse. The St. Augustine Lighthouse, located on Anastasia Island in Florida, is a beacon of history and mystery. The current lighthouse, standing at 165 feet, was built between 1871 and 1874. However, the site has been home to a series of wooden watchtowers and beacons since 1565. The first official American lighthouse was established here in 1824. The lighthouse has witnessed significant historical events, from the colonization of the Americas to the 100 Years' War and the birth of a nation. It stood as a sentinel through plagues, power struggles, and the changing tides of history. Yet, it's not just the weight of history that lingers here. The St. Augustine Lighthouse is reputed to be one of the most haunted places in America. Visitors often report hearing the bell-like ringing of a little girl's laughter echoing down the spiraling staircase. A spectral woman is sometimes seen leaning over the railing of the catwalk, only to disappear when noticed. One of the most tragic tales associated with the lighthouse is that of the Pity Sisters. During the construction of the lighthouse in 1873, 3 girls, the daughters of the superintendent of lighthouse construction, drowned when a cart they were playing in overturned into the water. The only survivor was the youngest sister, Carrie. Today, some believe that the girls' spirits remain, their laughter echoing through the halls. The lighthouse is also said to be haunted by a man with a beard, and a man in a blue uniform, and a woman in white. These apparitions have been seen by employees and visitors alike. Despite its haunted reputation, the St. Augustine Lighthouse continues to function as a private aid to navigation. It's also home to the St. Augustine Lighthouse and Maritime Museum, which is open to the public almost every day of the year. The museum's mission is to discover, preserve, present, and keep alive the stories of the nation's oldest port. Whether you're a history buff or a paranormal enthusiast, the St. Augustine Lighthouse offers a fascinating glimpse into the past.
Number 9. Disaster narrowly avoided. On July 20th, 2020, a United Airlines Boeing 787 and an EasyJet Airbus A320 came within 300 feet of colliding above France. The United Airlines plane was arriving at Charles de Gaulle Airport while the EasyJet was preparing to depart for Malaga, Spain. The near miss was blamed on a slip of the tongue by an air traffic controller. According to an official safety report, planes were landing on a runway called 09 right, while aircraft were taking off from a runway called 09 left. The air traffic controller mistakenly told the incoming United Airlines flight to land on 09 right, the runway that planes were taking off from, while also telling the EasyJet plane to prepare for takeoff from the same runway. After lining up to land, the United Airlines plane began to descend toward the runway, straight in the direction of the EasyJet. The EasyJet crew and the air traffic controller both told the United Airlines pilot not to land just in the nick of time to avoid disaster. All things considered, the situation could have turned out much worse. Number 8. TWA Flight 800. Just minutes after taking off from New York's John F. Kennedy International Airport on July 17, 1996, a Paris-bound Transworld Airlines Boeing 747 jumbo jet broke apart in midair over the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of East Maurice. All 230 souls aboard perished in the disaster, making it the third deadliest aviation accident in United States history. A National Transportation Safety Board investigation found no evidence of corrosion, metal fatigue, structural faults, or high-energy explosion. It was initially speculated that a terrorist attack had occurred, but authorities ultimately found no evidence of foul play. The NTSB investigation took 4 years. It was the costliest, most extensive, and most complex investigation of its kind in U.S. history at the time. The agency ruled that the accident was most likely caused by the explosion of flammable vapors in the center fuel tank, and that the blast was probably triggered by a short circuit. These findings are speculative rather than definitive, but it's the closest the NTSB could come to providing the public with conclusive answers. Number 7. Japan Airlines Flight 123. Japan Airlines Flight 123 was a domestic passenger flight that tragically crashed on August 12, 1985, 12 minutes after takeoff from Tokyo to Osaka. The Boeing 747 suffered a structural failure, leading to rapid decompression and loss of control. Out of the 524 people on board, 15 crew members and 505 passengers lost their lives. The crash is the deadliest single aircraft accident in aviation history. The accident was attributed to a faulty repair performed by Boeing technicians following a tail strike incident 7 years earlier. The repair did not meet Boeing's approved standards, weakening the aircraft's structure. When this repair ultimately failed, it led to the catastrophic event. The aftermath of the crash saw a significant decline in public confidence in Japan Airlines, with passenger numbers dropping and rumors circulating about Boeing's responsibility. JAL paid compensation to the victims' families, and several individuals connected to the incident tragically took their own lives. To honor the victims, a cenotaph was erected, and an annual memorial gathering is held near the crash site. Additionally, a safety promotion center was established at Haneda Airport to promote airline safety awareness. In 2009, an oxygen mask from the flight was discovered near the crash site during road repairs, and this followed the previous discovery of engine parts in the same area in the year prior. Number 6. Tenerife Airport Disaster. On March 27, 1977, 2 Boeing 747 passenger jets collided on the runway at Los Rodeos Airport, now Tenerife North Airport, in Spain. The collision was caused by KLM Flight 4805 initiating takeoff in dense fog while Pan Am Flight 1736 was still on the runway. Everyone on board KLM Flight 4805 and most of the occupants of Pan Am 1736 died. It was the worst aviation disaster in Spain's history and the deadliest accident in aviation history, with 583 fatalities. The disaster was exacerbated by a bomb detonated on the Canary Islands independence movement at Gran Canaria Airport diverting several flights, including the two involved in the collision, to Los Rodeos. This led to congestion at the airport, with parked airplanes blocking the taxiways and forcing departing planes to taxi on the runway. Additionally, patches of thick fog reduced visibility for both pilots and the control tower. The investigation determined that the primary cause of the accident was the KLM captain's decision to take off, believing a clearance had been issued. Dutch investigators also highlighted a misunderstanding in radio communications. KLM ultimately accepted responsibility and compensated the victims' families. The disaster prompted industry-wide changes, emphasizing the importance of standardized radio communication. Cockpit procedures were also reviewed, leading to the establishment of crew resource management and pilot training. The captain's infallibility was challenged, and the teamwork during operations was encouraged. Both flights were unscheduled stops at Tenerife, originally heading to Gran Canaria Airport in the Canary Islands. KLM Flight 4805 was a charter flight from Amsterdam with 235 passengers, while the Pan Am Flight 1736 had originated in Los Angeles and had 380 passengers. The collision occurred due to a series of factors, including the bomb threat, dense fog, and misunderstandings in radio communications. The disaster resulted in significant changes in aviation practices and highlighted the importance of effective crew coordination. Have you ever experienced extreme turbulence? Tell us about it in the comments below and hit subscribe while you're at it. Number 5, 1996 Charkhi Dadri mid-air collision. On November 12, 1996, Saudi Flight 763, a Boeing 747, and Kazakhstan Airlines Flight 1907, an Aleutian IL-76, collided over Charkhi Dadri, India, killing all 349 people on board. It remains the deadliest mid-air collision and the deadliest aviation accident in India. The collision was caused by the Kazakh crew's failure to maintain the correct altitude due to communication issues with air traffic control. Saudi Flight 763 had 312 people on board, including Captain Khalid Al-Shubaili, a seasoned pilot. The passengers included 215 Indians, 40 Nepalis, and 3 Americans, though there is some dispute about nationalities. The crew included 12 Saudi Arabian citizens as well. Kazakhstan Airlines Flight 1907, with 37 people on board, was captained by Alexander Cherepanov, an experienced pilot. It was carrying mostly ethnic Russian Kyrgyz citizens on a charter service. The collision occurred during descent for both flights. Air traffic controller V.K. Duta was handling both planes. The instructions and altitude assignments led to a tragic misunderstanding. The Kazakh flight descended to an incorrect altitude, leading to the collision. Investigations found the Kazakh crew's language barriers and the reliance on radio operator for communication played a significant role. Additionally, confusion regarding altitude measurements contributed. The crash prompted recommendations for improved air traffic procedures and infrastructure around New Delhi. In the aftermath, it became mandatory for all aircraft flying in and out of India to be equipped with an airborne collision avoidance system. Efforts are ongoing to develop a memorial honoring the victims of the collision in Charkhi Dadri. The project awaits approval from the Haryana government and plans to involve various aviation authorities and embassies. At number 4, Air India Flight 182. While en route from Montreal to Bombay on June 23, 1985, Air India Flight 182 disintegrated over the Atlantic Ocean due to a bomb planted by Canadian Sikh terrorists. The explosion killed all 329 people on board, making it the worst terrorist attack in Canadian history and the deadliest act of aviation terrorism at the time. The attack was orchestrated by Babar Khalsa, a Sikh militant group. Despite some arrests, only one person, Inderjit Singh Rayat, was convicted for his involvement. He was sentenced to 15 years for assembling the bombs. The investigation and prosecution lasted almost 20 years and was the most expensive trial in Canadian history. A commission of inquiry in 2010 concluded that a series of errors by the Canadian government, RCMP, and intelligence agencies allowed the attack to happen. The roots of the plot trace back to Sikh separatist sentiments in Canada during the 1980s, with leaders like Talwinder Singh Parmar and Ajaib Singh Bagri playing key roles. The perpetrators used coded language and false identities to book tickets and plant bombs on 2 different flights. The bomb on Air India Flight 182 exploded at an altitude of 31,000 feet, causing the aircraft to break apart. Investigations led to the recovery of crucial evidence from the wreckage at the seabed, including the flight data and cockpit voice recorders. The tragedy remains a significant event in Canadian history, highlighting the transnational nature of terrorism and the challenges in preventing such attacks. At number 3, Turkish Airlines Flight 981. The tragic Turkish Airlines Flight 981 incident occurred on March 3, 1974, while en route from Istanbul to London with a stopover in Paris. During the journey, the cargo door of the McDonnell Douglas DC-10 aircraft blew open, causing explosive decompression. This catastrophic event led to the separation of critical control cables and resulted in the loss of control over the aircraft. The plane subsequently crashed into Emeronville Forest outside Paris, killing all 346 people on board. The primary cause of the accident was a cargo door design flaw. The cargo doors on the DC-10 opened outward to maximize cargo space, making them vulnerable to being forced open at high altitudes if not properly latched. An over-center concept latching system was used to secure the doors, ensuring they remained closed under pressure. However, deficiencies in the design and handling of these doors led to the disaster. The investigation revealed that a similar set of conditions had been foreseen during ground testing in 1970 before the DC-10 series entered commercial service. A memo from the fuselage manufacturer, Convair, to McDonnell Douglas had outlined the events that occurred on Flight 981 and its precursor, Flight 96, and predicted the possible loss of an aircraft if these events occurred. Despite this warning, though, no corrective actions were taken, ultimately leading to the tragic crash. Flight 981's cargo door was not correctly secured, and this design flaw, coupled with an inoperative locking mechanism, led to the door opening in flight, causing explosive decompression and the crash. McDonnell Douglas faced numerous lawsuits in the aftermath of the crash and ultimately settled out of court. Following this incident, the cargo door latching system was thoroughly redesigned and safety protocols were enhanced to prevent similar disasters. The FAA also mandated changes to the design of the outward opening cargo doors on various aircraft models, including the DC-10, Lockheed 1011, and Boeing 747. The crash of Turkish Airlines Flight 981 remains one of the deadliest aviation accidents in history, highlighting the importance of safety protocols and rigorous engineering standards in aviation. Number 2, Saudi Flight 163. Saudi Flight 163 was a scheduled passenger flight that caught fire after takeoff from Riyadh International Airport in Saudi Arabia on August 19, 1980. Although the plane made a successful emergency landing, the crew failed to perform an evacuation, resulting in the deaths of all 287 passengers and 14 crew members due to smoke inhalation. It was the deadliest accident involving a Lockheed L-1011 TriStar and the deadliest aviation disaster in Saudi Arabia at the time. The aircraft, a Lockheed L-1011-200 TriStar, had been in service for just over a year. The flight crew consisted of Captain Mohammed Al-Aykauter, First Officer Sami Abdullah M. Hassanen, and Flight Engineer Bradley Curtis. The flight, en route from Karachi, Pakistan to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, with a layover in Riyadh, experienced smoke warnings about 7 minutes after takeoff. The crew spent 4 minutes trying to confirm the warnings. Captain helicpoter decided to return to the airport and the flight engineer confirmed the presence of smoke. The engine on the center of the plane was shut down due to the fire. The aircraft landed back at Riyadh, but during the evacuation process, both wing-mounted engines remained running, preventing the doors from opening promptly. The crew reported they were evacuating, but upon arrival, the rescue personnel found the engine still running. They were shut down 3 minutes later. Unfortunately, the delay allowed the fire to intensify, leading to the destruction of the aircraft and the loss of all on board. The investigation determined that the fire originated in the aft cargo compartment and 2 butane stoves were found, suggesting a possible source of the fire. However, this theory was not supported by evidence. In the aftermath, policy changes were implemented, including revisions to training and emergency procedures. Lockheed made structural enhancements to the aircraft, and recommendations were made regarding the use of halomethane extinguishers. The incident highlighted the importance of crew resource management, emphasizing the need for effective communication within flight crews. It also underscored the potential risks associated with the cultural power distances between crew members in high-stress situations. This event serves as a significant lesson in aviation safety. And at number 1, Iran Air Flight 655. Iran Air Flight 655 was a commercial flight that was shot down by the United States Navy's USS Vincennes on July 3, 1988. The flight was en route from Tehran to Dubai via Bandar Abbas when 2 surface-to-air missiles fired by the USS Vincennes struck the aircraft, resulting in the deaths of all 290 people on board. The incident occurred during the Iran-Iraq War. The U.S. accused the Vincennes crew of mistakenly identifying the aircraft as an attacking Iranian F-14 Tomcat and attempted to contact it several times on both military and civilian frequencies without a response. Iran contended that the Vincennes negligently shot down the civilian aircraft, which was transmitting a civilian identification signal, thus not posing any military threat. The incident raised significant criticism of the United States, with some blaming Captain William C. Rogers III for aggressive behavior. The U.S. compensated the victims' families without admitting legal liability or formally apologizing. The shootdown remains one of the deadliest aviation disasters involving an Airbus A300 and one of the deadliest airliner shootdown incidents in history. The context leading to the incident included heightened tensions between the US and Iran, a pattern of incidents in the region, and misunderstandings and errors in communication and radar tracking by the USS Vincennes. The US had expanded its naval protection to neutral shipping in the Persian Gulf, further complicating the situation. The incident raised questions about the crew's actions, the equipment and software used on the ship, and the rules of engagement in the region. Thanks for watching. Do you think any of these disasters could have been avoided? Tell us in the comments and remember to subscribe. See you soon. Bye for now.